Great. Thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. Today we're going to be talking with the award-winning team at Arup and really focusing on connecting a distributed workforce and scaling mentoring across the Americas. My name's Jess from Mentorloop. Mentorloop is a global mentoring software provider, and I'm joined today by Jackie and Nikki. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So my name is Nikki. I sit in Canada, and Jackie and I sort of look after North and South America, but we are a global company. So I work on an HR project management team, and I was involved in the launch of Mentorloop.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nikki.
And I am Jackie, and I sit in our New York office. Sometimes I'm in our Jersey office. And I am part of the learning and development team for the people team for Arup, which is actually a regional team. So we take care of all of the Americas, as Nikki said, and I'm a program manager. So I take care of all of our milestone programs and annual programs, as well as mentoring.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jackie. I'm also joined today by Marina. I'll let you introduce yourself as well, Marina.
Thanks, Jess. Yes, I'm Marina. I work at Mentorloop and I work closely with Jackie and Nikki, helping them run their program.
Wonderful, thank you. And for those who don't already know, Arup is a multidisciplinary firm of designers, planners, engineers, and consultants who work across every aspect of the built environment. We do welcome questions today. Thank you so much for everyone who sent these over ahead of time as well. So we'll cover those off at the end. We will be sharing both a recording of this session after today's webinar, as well as some really handy additional information and resources for you. Do be sure to check your spam folders. Sometimes they do slip in there. So today we're going to be looking at a couple of different things with regards to mentoring and Arup's amazing job of creating a mentoring program for their people. We're going to start off by thinking about the why. Why is there a mentoring program in place and what is it there to achieve? We're going to talk a little bit about scaling that program and the great job that the team have done to really scale that program to so many people. We're going to deep dive into the day-to-day, the running of the program, and of course, how to measure success. And then, of course, we'll answer those questions at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and we can get into it. Of course, to start with, as I said, we want to explore the why of your program. So I suppose that's where we can kick off. What led to deciding to launch a mentoring program for Arup?
Of course, it it's kind of disconnected for a second, but I can take that one on because I was part of the launch of the program. And so our members were really excited about having a mentoring program. And so we initially got approval to start one back in 2019. But of course, as it was about to be launched in 2020, the pandemic hit and it got put on hold while we were reacting to our people's, new needs as members, and then also the costs of business. When we got more capacity in 2022, we were able to start up again. So that was really exciting. We didn't for sure know where to start, but we knew that we had to change our approach from what we were looking at before because we were hybrid and remote all of a sudden. And we knew that we were going to stay that way, at least to some capacity. And then also after the pandemic had hit about a year when people were still not working in office yet, we had developed an EDI strategy, so an equity, diversity, inclusion strategy. And it involved mentoring as well. And a lot about accessibility and really understanding the different ways that our members work. So that helped guide us. So this ended up being a collaboration between HR and our EDI team. One of our leading behaviors at Arup, so globally, not just in the Americas, is to be leaders. So that means that we try to give everyone the opportunity to learn how to be a leader and to actually implement those skills, regardless of whether you're like entry level or you're very high up and been at Arup for 40 years. We have all different types of folks, and we are hoping that everyone can act as a leader. And our promise to promote this is, quote, fostering lifelong leadership development and creating an integrated and comprehensive approach to the lifelong development at Arup. So these were all of our values that led us to wanting to have a successful mentoring and program, and not just like checking off a box so we could recruit people and say we have a mentoring program. Our deliverables that we let Marina know about when we first got started with the program were to accelerate the personal and professional development of members through equitable data-driven mentoring. So that was a huge piece of it. That's something we hadn't approached, was data-driven mentoring pairings. Build personalized and accessible networking opportunities for different disciplines. So different departments, different locations, different levels, and also different styles of mentoring. And developing emerging leaders and the culture of leadership a bit more naturally across our entire region. Our counterparts in Australia had already been using Mentor Loops, so we got sort of like that forward vision of seeing like, okay, it's already implemented, it works with our culture. We did look at other options, but ultimately it was like an absolute no-brainer. And then that just became more evident as we started working with Mentor Loop. It was easier than we thought. Y'all basically just said, this is what we need from you. Here's some guidance if you don't know exactly what that means. And we gave the information to you and you turned it around very, very quick, which was our goal. And now we have no bias when these pairings are made because they're data driven and people are making connections that they never would have made before. So that's the why we picked Mentor Loop and why we're here today.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great to hear. Obviously, we always love to get some great feedback, but you must have such a solid succession planning process in place with some of those be a leader things that you're working on. Now, of course, today you have, I believe, over 500 participants on your program, which is really excellent. So we'd like to almost take it back to the start here, because very often we speak to programs that, start with a pilot. They might be starting with as little as 20 participants, but the blue sky thinking is this big program that's going to support more people. With that in mind, how did you start building to this number? What did that recruitment look like?
It's actually pretty funny. We didn't pilot anything. We spoke about the program in our client meetings for about 2 to 3 months before it launched. So our staff was aware of the program coming. We advertised it tremendously. We built a SharePoint for all of the FAQs, how to log in, any of that information. We do a weekly Arup news article. So it was advertised out in our news article, our newsroom that's live on our intranet, so on and so forth. We had emails coming from our people team leader introducing it. We had a lot of leadership buy-in and push for it. So when we launched to all of the Americas staff at once. And I feel, Nikki, tell me if I'm wrong, but we had a pretty good sign-ons, right away.
Yes, it was so cool. I would like refresh the dashboard and be like, oh, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one signing up. So yes, it was very exciting. That's
great to hear. Great to hear. And I think it's something that's often overestimated, is the appetite for mentoring within organizations. It has always been big, but it's definitely growing. And it's great to hear that you're a shining example of that. When you open a program to everyone, those signups are going to come in thick and fast, and you can reach that impact quicker. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, now, I think jump in there, especially because it was driven by appetite to begin with. So one of the reasons for starting the program, as you said, was that there was a need and an appetite for mentoring. Occasionally we see it's the other way around, right? So it's like a strategy to start mentoring, and then people don't buy in the same way. That was one thing that I really enjoyed about our initial conversation setting up the program, is that it was so focused on mentors or potential mentors and mentees' needs, as opposed to what Arup HR strategy was saying. And I think part of the success is down to that as well.
Yeah, I also just wanted to add one detail, that our goal was only 100 people. That's all we expected. And then so now we're at 500. So very, very exciting for us.
Everyone loves a 5x on what you were hoping for, right? Now, of course, you've got this big program now, but one of the other things that is really interesting is the distribution of the individuals that you have within the program. Of course, you're a big multinational company. This is, of course, a national program. What tips have you got for the people who have joined us today in ensuring that participation from potentially multiple offices and in the world of hybrid, maybe hundreds of locations?
I think you have to be you have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of reach out, a lot of communication, advertise before when you know it's coming, advertise before, don't just, launch it. So we had, I think, 2 to 3 months of advertising out to our our clients in our staff meetings and leader meetings and stuff like that. Have leadership buy-in as well. I mean, we have great leaders at Arup, and they are behind us like 100% for everything that we do, which is great. But I think that's a key point to it too, that it's not just coming from, your people team, it's coming from all of your leaders in the company. Nikki, can you think of anything else?
I think also, and this is from the guidance of Marina as well, when we were putting together that initial like bio and the form that gets filled out, we really emphasize location, timing of meetings. Do you like in person? Are you okay with hybrid? So really getting it into their minds, almost like subconsciously thinking about different locations and who you can connect with, because I think people's minds immediately go to, oh gosh, I'm so tired of hybrid, or in person's intimidating. Like I know mine was in person, and I'm so used to having virtual. So just making sure you're getting those questions in so people feel comfortable reaching out and reaching out to people in different offices across the world.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and it's really good points around leadership buy-in. It's something that we talk about an awful lot. And as you say, it's great having things driven by your people team. They're the experts, but unless you've got leadership buy-in, it's really difficult to see a program thrive. So I'm really glad that you touched on that. I want to move on to thinking a little bit about the reality of your program, sort of the day-to-day running and what you're doing with it. How much time would you say you're spending on a weekly, monthly basis with things like support and admin?
So I don't spend a lot of time. It is just very self-paced. I do dedicate 1 day a week to Mentor Loop. When I log in, I run my reports. We look at our dashboard. We take out inactive employees who have left, so on and so forth. Reach out to people who are active but don't have any mentor, mentees, or any loops, stuff like that. We have a mailbox that was set up through Outlook that all of our incoming mail comes to that. So if there's questions, we can answer that in real time, and it's not just when we log into the app. So we look at that mailbox like twice a day, once in the morning or once at night, answer what we can. What's nice about that is even the emails from Mentor Loop come into that. So we get to see how many new people signed up for the week, if there's any questions that came in through the online assistant that we need to answer and stuff like that. But other than that, it's self-explanatory, the site. It's very easy to use. So our people pretty much, they're on their own. They're really good. Can't complain about that.
Look, I think when we're talking about potentially running programs with as many participants as you have, and so geographically distributed across the country, there is that fear around how long is this going to take me? So it's really great to hear that, obviously utilizing Mentor Loop has made a big impact on that, but put you in a position where that's not a completely overwhelming thing to do. Because of course, in a manual fashion, it potentially could be.
Yeah, definitely. And I hold hats of many with my position here. So it's a breeze off my shoulders, like where I don't have to worry about doing so much for it. The only other thing that I do is in the beginning of the year, I created a monthly communications plan. So we email out communications, or we run challenges, and that'll go out maybe once a week, depending on what it is. So, and that's, that includes LinkedIn learnings about mentoring, articles to read, whatever our theme of the month is, and we send that out to our active participants in the system.
Love that. Such a great idea. Great to hear.
The perfect program coordinators to work with, by the way. Do everything like by best practice, by the book. It's such a great way of maintaining engagement by having that communications plan done up front and just sending a couple of resources to people at specific points. So it's so good to hear that you're doing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you hit a really good balance between being hands-off and hands-on. So like hands-off in the sense that people can organize themselves and decide when they match and join the program when they like and make it fit within their learning and their needs. But then hands-on, as you were mentioning, being super responsive when they need some support, sending them resources that you think they're going to help, that they're going to appreciate. So, you know, it's like ideal.
Lovely. It's great to hear about the day-to-day as well, of course. Changing tack slightly here, want to start thinking about the measurements of your program. And of course, you have a really successful program. We'll get onto that a little bit in a minute. And I do want to bring Marina in on this part because she's been supporting you since day one. But what metrics are you currently using to measure the success of your program?
I use the dashboard heavily. So I look to see the testimonials that are written in by our mentors, mentees, or, you know, whatever they are. The quality scoring I look at as well. We also use mentoring, and we put a couple of questions in our employee surveys that we send out. And I think those go out. Do they go out quarterly, Nikki, or twice a year?
Quarterly for the most part, yeah.
Right. So we have one or two, sometimes up to 4 questions in that, so we know what's going on and what people, you know, are expecting or what they think of our program. So that goes out to all of our staff members. Nikki actually created a video with our testimonials from a couple of our staff members that are in the program. So she has a couple of leaders as well as entry level staff in the video talking about the program. So we advertise that out a lot as well when we're doing new trainings and stuff like that. So
That's great. Is there anything you would add to that, Marina?
I think most of it's been covered there. It's, you know, participants are joining the program first off, meaning there's appetite for it in the first place. They're finding matches, meaning they're not just joining and then feeling a bit lost. They're actually finding that really important connection. And then that's the proof of that is the feedback that we see that that Jackie mentioned there. So I think the participant feedback speaks volumes. And when someone's asked, how's your relationship going with this person? And we're getting, you know, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. That for me is really the best indicator of success to show that it's a good quality program, that people are joining, matching, and enjoying the relationship afterwards.
Wonderful. Great to hear. I do have a slide here that actually talks a little bit more, shows some of the real life feedback that you've been getting. Because of course, for a lot of people who are joining us today in this webinar, they potentially don't know about some of the feedback metrics that we have here. So I'm going to just go back to sharing my screen. And this is just a couple of little pieces that you've had. I'm not going to go through these word for word, but the theme that we're seeing through these sentiment scores, and the sentiment is generated through a series of pulse surveys that are automatically triggered based on behavior or action. What we're seeing here is this theme towards development, support. We can see that over time, your mentoring score has stayed really high, but also really consistent. And I think that goes back, Jackie, to what you've been doing around making sure there's that continuous communication. You've not seen any engagement dips. Everything has stayed really consistent as we look over a space of a couple of months there. Now, I've alluded to this already. Of course, congratulations on your Mentoring Impact Award that you won last year. We were really glad to see you apply for that. And I know Marina was keen to see you apply. So I suppose I'll bring Marina in here again. Why were you so keen to see the team at Arup applying for that award?
Yeah, quite a few things. One is that the mentoring philosophy overall, as you've probably already gathered from the conversation so far, it's really inclusive. It's about making it available to everyone. It's about making it easy to access, and that's very much in line with what we talk about a lot at Mentor Loop. The other thing that I love about working with these guys is their openness to try anything. You're really great when we have our meetings every month or every couple of months. I'm always full of suggestions, but you're always so receptive or asking questions like, how can we get some more engagement? Why don't we try, some group mentoring or this or that? And you're just really open to trying new ways of engaging your participants out. And that is, it's really wonderful. And I think it also is one of the reasons why people love the program so much.
Nice to hear. Is there anything that you would want to add there on that impact award, Jackie and Nikki?
I don't think so.
Just it was good. It was glad to win it.
It was a surprise.
I loved seeing Jackie win. It was so great because when I first started working on this, Jackie wasn't there to like, we hadn't brought her in yet. Basically, we'd like done this whole proposal to the board and it got accepted, and then we're like, Jackie, I really hope you like what we've put together. And Jackie just like took it and ran and like made it better than we
They
thought.
threw me to the wolves, actually.
Pretty much.
Well, hopefully it's not been too bad. Working with Marina, it's obviously one of our experts and really handy with these things. Before we close out for questions, and look, it's been an absolute pleasure hearing all about your program today. I personally have loved it. I don't get the opportunity to talk about programs like this very often, so it's really great to hear how your program's running. But before we close out for those questions, thinking to the future, what are the future plans for your program? What's next?
So we have a couple of future plans for this year. Particularly, we are taking our interns this year, and they usually do an informal buddy system, and they're matched already to a buddy, and we're going to formally use the Mentor Loop application with them so that they can go in and see what a formal mentoring program is like, because this way when they go out into the world and they finish college and they decide what to do, they know what to look for, and hopefully they actually can stay with some of their buddies as the years go by, because you could be a mentor whether you're in the same company or not. We are looking to hopefully bring on our global alumni group. So they are people who have left Arup, but they still mentor our employees. So we're in talks with someone in the UK to get that started as well. So I already spoke to Marina on how we could actually fold that into play. And then each year we do have a class of grads that start with us. So we have about 160 grads that are going to start with us in August. And I run their program for the year. So it's one of our annual programs. And this year I am piloting the group mentoring with them. So we are going to see and survey our older grads as to how many would like to be a mentor for our group. And then we'll get them started on that. So we'll pilot it to see how well it goes. And if it goes well, then that's becoming part of their program every year.
Great. It really is the epitome of mentoring through the entire employee life cycle, right? We've started by focusing on the learning and development and the retention that comes as a result of that. But now actually you're looking at people at the beginning of their career and their career with yourselves, and actually really, really ingeniously thinking about people who have exited the company and how those skills can still be brought back. So that's really, really, really great to hear. As I say,
the definition of building a mentoring culture, and we use that term, building a mentoring culture, quite often, and sometimes it can feel a little bit vague when you just say building a mentoring culture, but then this is it, live.
This is it. This is how you do it. So we do have a few questions today. As I say, some were sent over ahead of time because I know some people couldn't join, but we're going to be sharing this recording. But we do have one live here. So I've got a question. Could you please share the metrics that you send out for assessment? So I think that's, and correct me if I'm wrong, for the person who asked this, I believe that's the employee engagement that you're sending out. Would you be able to enlighten this?
I can speak to it a little bit. So I wouldn't call them metrics per se, but what we're trying to measure is how well have we engaged the entire population. So have you heard of the mentoring program? If you've heard of it, have you used it? Did you sign up and then never use it? So trying to find out like where in that pipeline we can intervene a little bit better. So that's what we're looking for. And then we also, in our quality membership survey, it is through a digital platform, so we can see which, you know, departments or which grades, so which level do we need to engage a little bit more, and then we can hand that back to Jackie for some of her strategy.
Right. If I will just point out at this point, if there are any other questions, I know we've got quite a few people in here today, do feel free to pop them in the Q&A and we'll answer them now. But I'm going to switch over to some of the questions that we were asked ahead of time. So one that we had was, and we've covered this to some extent, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have any tips on how to get a mentoring program approved?
Nikki can answer that one.
Nikki did it.
So what we did was we wrote a project initiation document. So that talked about scope, why it is important from a business perspective. So why is it actually going to save money and help with turnover and things like that. So you're looking at those pieces, and then you're looking at culture pieces, you're looking at equity, diversity, inclusion. So you're ensuring that you're making a true business case. And then you speak to how is it actually going to get laid out? What skills do you need on a project team? So really try to think about everything and the audience that you're giving it to, which for us was the Americas Board of Directors. So it's a bunch of engineers. It's people from all different locations within the Americas. And it's also a consideration of, you know, how much money do we have? How are we going to be using it? Mentor Loop, I will say, was fantastic cost-wise, cost value-wise, so it was not hard to get it approved. And it technically was a pilot in a way, but like we just kept it going because the board was like, yeah, this works. This is awesome. We can definitely go into more detail if anyone wants to follow up with us on that. It's a great question. But just try to think of all your bases. Use project management templates as well. If you're not super familiar with them, it helps you cover all the bases that your business will be thinking about.
Right, I'm sure that will have been very handy for so many people who are really passionate about getting a mentoring program started. But as you say, it really is a project plan. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I've got another question here live. So we've got, what is the length of each mentoring partnership and how do you build your team of mentors? So it's a two-part question. So we'll start. What is the length of each mentoring partnership? And then we'll take on the second part.
So we don't have a length on partnership. We have left it that it could be a quick question that you might have for someone, and you're looking for someone in a specific discipline in our company, and you just reach out to them with a question. It could be 2 months, it could be 3 months, 6 months, whatever you and your mentor or mentee agree to. If you are at the point where you're like, I got enough out of this partnership, I'm going to close it and then look for another one, that's absolutely fine. So we have never not put a duration on any of it. It is completely open, it's open-ended, and can be closed and reopened whenever the employee would like to.
Great. And then the second part of this question is, how do you build your team of mentors? So I suppose that's sort of how are you making sure there are enough mentors in your program, and what are you doing to recruit them specifically?
We have left it open that they can be a mentor or a mentee or both. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a lower grade being a mentee to a higher grade. We've done the reverse mentoring. In fact, we just finished up that challenge last month. Peer mentoring, peer-to-peer, right? I mean, we've done it that way. We're going to introduce the group mentoring. So that'll be introduced in October with our employees, well, with our grads that are starting. So we really, we do training with them, especially with our new hires. So we do that quarterly. We explain what a mentor is, we explain what a mentee is, and we let them take it upon themselves as to how they want to join the program.
Yeah, I suppose that goes into, we've had a response saying very interesting, thank you. So thanks for that. I think that goes back to this mentoring culture piece that you've built. You've got this culture of mentoring. There's that psychological safety for people to put their hands up and say, I do know something and I can pass that on. And I think when we work with yourselves and other organizations around the world, that's such a big part of mentor participation specifically.
Especially now, because if I'm not mistaken, we have like 5 different generations in the workplace. So at the same time, so, you know, I can learn something obviously from a grad that starts, and, you know, somebody in leadership can learn something from me. And we're always learning every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we left it pretty open, the platform.
Yeah, it's great. I do have another live question here, and this is such an interesting one. I'm really interested to hear your response. What do you do with those ghost mentees? What are your strategies?
There's always ghost mentees. We reach out to them a couple of times via the platform. If they don't respond via the platform, then we direct message them as ourselves to them through our Teams app. And we tell, you know, we're like, are you interested in it? If you're not at this point, we ask that you put yourself as inactive so that nobody chooses you and reaches out to you. And if you are, you know, please respond to people who have. We've come across a couple of incidents such as that, where somebody is just too busy and they can't do it. So we just ask them to put themselves inactive, and they can reopen themselves at any time. And then we just reach out to that other person who requested them, and we just let them know, unfortunately, at this time, they don't have enough time. Please reach out to someone else. So far it's worked. Nobody has really taken offense to it. So it's all good.
It sounds like a good,
yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Jackie, but it seems like it doesn't happen very much on your platform.
No, it doesn't. And sometimes people don't, and I'm going to be honest with you, they're so inundated with emails that come through to them that they don't see it, and it expires before they actually get to it. So us giving them that little nudge also helps. So then they start their relationships that way.
Yeah, proactivity, but you know, also to a large part, it's about having the visibility to see that this is happening. And that's one of the benefits of a software, is that actually you can see when these things happen, so you can step in. And as you say, Jackie, it is so rare that it's someone who just doesn't want to be involved anymore. It's a missed email, or you know, maybe a big project that's come up, and you have an opportunity to manage that situation because you know that that's happening.
Exactly.
Just double checking to see if we have any final questions in here. They've been really brilliant questions today, so I really appreciate that. And if we have nothing else, we will close out here for today. Thank you so much, Jackie and Nikki, for joining us. It's been really great to chat with you both about all things mentoring across the Americas with Arup. I'll just double check. I've just seen another question come up. No, there we go. For those who've joined us today, I am going to be sharing this recording. I'm going to be sharing the case study that Arup have put together with us, as well as some really handy tips on how to build a mentoring program. Of course, if there is anything else that we can do to help, do reach out, do let me know. We're more than happy to have a chat about how we can help you build a business case, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.